Hello and welcome to Springboard Virtual University. My name is Albert Okran, welcoming you on behalf of Team Springboard led by Comfort. This is your most inspirational show and that place where the biggest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and proudly sponsored by Enterprise Group, Enterprise Your Advantage, MTN Pulse, Just B, UMB Bank celebrating 50 years in banking in Central University, Ghana's premier private Christian university. Our media partners, the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Business. Here we are today in the money edition of Springboard, your virtual university, talking about securing your financial future. Listen, if you know somebody who doesn't need this conversation, they're not alive. Securing your financial future. We'll focus on the need, the how, the why, the benefits, the principles, and the process of ensuring that in future you will never be hungry or broke. And that is the focus of today. And let me give you one hint before I introduce my guest. If it is true that the length of your retirement is 18 years, then if you don't take this conversation serious, it could be a bleak midwinter for you. My guest, Managing Director of Enterprise Trustees, Mr. Joseph Ampofo. They call him Big Joe. Big Joe, good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Always excited to be here.
Indeed. From the intro alone, how important is a conversation about the financial future?
It's actually the engine. If you take a car, for instance, and you put everything else in a car, and then you want to be able to move without the fuel, it will do nothing. So you can do all the aesthetics, you can have all the beautiful things that you would want to see in a car, but once a car doesn't have the fuel to be able to move, it won't. So financial security, or it's actually what drives human behavior and human lives, and without it, there's nothing anyone can do.
Why is it important at this stage in our lives and our nation and the world at large, a discussion about financial security and the financial future?
Where we are right now is simply saying that we are, in terms of our economy and our challenges, it is simply financial, and the fact that we seem to be looking for the resources to be able to keep the lights on and to be able to do other things that is required. And so as an individual, and here I'm talking about different segments of individuals, because you could be in your 20s, you could be in your 30s, you could be in your 40s, 50s, even 60s or 70s. The question is that my next step that I need to take, I might have to be able to part our ways with some financial resource to be able to make it work. And without it, so whether I'm going to go to school, whether I have a job, I even need to go to the office, or here's a case where I've even retired and I didn't even want to go for an engagement, or even my grandkids' graduation. Everything boils down to resources and having the financial muscle to be able to do whatever you need to do.
Interestingly, you talk about the fact that whatever it is that you are doing, even if you're not retiring, your next stage may require cash or resources to do what your plan is. I stumbled on a statistic from the U.S. Census Bureau that suggested that 49% of adults, especially those in the sensitive bracket of between 55 to 65, had no personal retirement savings. And if I juxtapose that against what you just said, why do people defer discussions and preparation for their financial future at the early stages of their lives, and very often maybe until it's even too late?
It boils down to having a savings culture, and quite clearly, whether you live abroad or here, naturally we like to consume, and we like to be able to virtually spend whatever it is that comes within reach. And so by the time we realize that our sources of revenue, or however we earn the income, no longer exist, or it's sort of like coming to its tail end, then we begin to ask ourselves, hey, so what am I going to do next? And the age bracket that you mentioned, probably at that particular time, question is that I'm 55, I probably have, according to our, to Ghana, and our formal retirement age is 60. So I just have 5 more years of salary to be able to take. How am I going to be able to do A, B, or C? And maybe A might be, I have a pension baby. What is going to happen in terms of fees? Or I am building this house, and I decided to build some 8-bedroom house because I wanted to show that I am the, the director in my business, and I'm 55 and I have to finish this 8-story building, and my children are probably off to university, so I have to finish the building to show that yes, I was a director wherever I was. So quite clearly, you would realize that at these stages, to be able to fund these things, then you begin to realize, I don't have that much time. But when you're younger, you don't think about those things because yours is about consumption. Oh, there's this beautiful 55-inch, television that has come. Oh, there's this beautiful BM X series, that has come that I must be seen to be sitting in, and you go and rent an apartment and you are by yourself and you're like, oh, I need to rent a 2-bedroom apartment, a 3-bedroom apartment in a particular area to show who I am. So I think it's more to do with our taste and our wants, which overrides the needs, and that is where we tend to find ourselves in a problem. By the time we get to almost retiring, we are then in a panic mode as to we haven't really resolved our needs properly, and that's where we get into panic mode. So yes, in terms of why we don't seem to think about our retirement much earlier, it's simply because, one, is the knowledge there. Are people told? Are people given information? What's the financial literacy solutions that people get? You realize that the formal sector, largely to some extent, because of the mandatory nature that solutions are put in place, there's some cushioning to some extent. So people would finish and they'll probably retire on their Tier 1 benefit and then also have a Tier 2 solution. So that gives them a sense of, I've been preparing for retirement. But when you start actually utilizing that money to live on, then you realize that, hey, it's probably not enough because I didn't do enough prior to being retired. So maybe those are some of the considerations.
So if I understand you well, you're saying that people generally have a consumption culture, actually when they are younger, and only wake up when they are getting old and it's getting too late.
Exactly.
And you are saying that from the formal sector, even if you are not interested, there is a mandatory system that lays up a tier for you for your retirement. But you're saying that the mandatory system, the SNAIT that you typically will be relying on from calculations, will most likely not be enough to meet your needs.
So some people have a misconception about Tier 1, which is SNAIT. I'm earning 1,000 Ghana cedis. From the principles, it's an insurance. That SNAIT is, the Tier 1 is actually insurance. And it's not 100% insurance. Basically what it's saying is that when you get to retirement age, the insurance there for SNAIT and Tier 1 is, I will pay you at most 60% of your best salary that you were earning. So if it was 1,000 Ghana cedis that I was earning, which means that I would now be living with 600 Ghana cedis at best. Okay, and that is what it is. Some people feel as though, well, I was earning 1,000 Ghana cedis and therefore I could send 100 Ghana cedis to Antia, spend 200 Ghana cedis at Antimuni, and then go to maybe Bloomba and spend 300 Ghana cedis and do other things with it. Now I retire and I realize that I'm left with only 600 Ghana cedis. So Antia, who I used to send 100 Ghana cedis to, now what do I do? Because I'm now chairman of a funeral that they've called me to go and sit under, or outdooring, and they say, oh, you are the one to come and be the naming person. So I have to be able to give money. But my 1,000 is now 600 Ghana cedis. And I used to spend on 1,000. So what do I do now since it's just 600? So those are some of the challenges where people just think about the fact that Tier 1 is an insurance, and the insurance is capped. And the cap is not more than 60% of what you were earning.
Right.
But really, the statistics are also saying that for you to have a comfortable retirement, you must have at least 75 to about 80% of your present income saved. So there are many other things that you need to do which probably would take up And I mean, for us in Ghana, it's even a challenge because 1,000 Ghana cedis in December, if I give it 1,000 Ghana cedis today, which means that it cannot possibly purchase the items that I did in December. So which means that for me, I would need a little bit more than 1,000 Ghana cedis today. So if I just saved on 600 Ghana cedis, then I'll have a problem. And that is where most of us today in the formal sector are finding ourselves. I mean, the statistics that we run show that since 2010, where the private sector started paying benefits, we've noticed that most people are just retiring on the mandatory component of their retirement possibilities, which is just the Tier 1 and the Tier 2, just sticking to the normal 5% contribution and the employer matching with 30.5%. They've forgotten all about the fact that government said, I'm giving you an opportunity where you can build your personal pension or your personal savings up to 60.5%, and it's tax-free. So you don't pay taxes on it. So which means that at least by the time you're going on retirement, there is a 35% cushion aside all the other savings things that you need to do. And that is what, unfortunately, most people are not doing. They're just simply focusing on the mandatory. And like I said, because we like compulsion. So compulsion is if it's deducted from salary and the law says this one, then I'll do it. But if it's voluntary nature and come on your own, it's like, this one, let me go and buy a bottle of beer.
So what you're saying is that the part you said that caught my attention is that there are peculiar costs that are associated with retirement or aging.
Yes.
The one, you call it to be chairman at some family meeting, and you can't say you go funeral planning.
And don't forget, you also have traditionally, as you're going as chairman, also tutuntuma.
Yes.
So you might have to buy a new cloth. And the kente seller is coming to you and say, I'm moving a new kente for you because you're going to be your grandson or your granddaughter, you're going to name the child. So you're also putting your best cloth. It's not for free. You have to buy it. You pay for it. And
it would seem that at that point your medical bills tend to be higher.
There's one interesting conversation I had with a retiree recently, and he said, Joe, it's interesting, but when I was at work, my salary never paid for my fuel.
Oh, okay.
I said, why is that the case? He said, my office, they give us vouchers. So they give us like a card, like a term card or a fuel card. So every month they'll fill it up and I go and I purchase. So it wasn't part of my salary. But now that I've gone on retirement, I was expecting to see that term card being, continuously funded. But the day when I finished my work, that was it. And I realized that 60% of my salary that I'm earning for Tier 1 and even my Tier 2 lump sum that was paid for me, that is what now I have to spend on fuel. And fuel prices are shooting up. So something that wasn't planned for, it's even not part of my current salary consumption or expenditure, let me put it that way. All of a sudden now it's a new introduction.
Is it a fair thing to say that most people do not actually know how much they need to retire on?
To be honest with you, yes. And the problem with that is that you can estimate to some extent, but quite clearly, even if you estimate, the system also has some changes that automatically happens. So right now we are having to pay 3 times or 2 times what you have budgeted for your fuel. Okay, you go to the market today and you are purchasing certain items for the home. All of a sudden, it's now gone about 2 or 3 times. So it is possible that you might estimate to say, well, I might just go out once a week. But now the cost of that once a week is such that it wasn't something that you had planned for. Yes, so most people actually don't really sit down. And I think the bottom line is, do people have a financial plan?
Right. So let's go on to the need for a plan. I mean, only 12% of people apparently have written retirement plans in place. I did some research on on statistics that relate to retirement and financial planning. The more I read it, the more troubled I became because it didn't get any better. It seemed to me, and I'll tell you why this conversation is very important. Big Joe, we've had conversations on this show about preparing for the future, and we've had people call in and say, you know what, my heart is broken. Because if somebody had told me this 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have made different decisions. I've had people call us off air and say, you know what, people think I'm fine, but maybe power, and you know, people talk about it with such strong emotion. So we've made a commitment here at Springboard that every single year we will have a discussion about financial security for the future, preparing for retirement. And sometimes the people calling to open up to us are very well educated, but they say, listen, nobody told us. Almost like the story of the person who says, the biblical story of the guy who says, you know what, you go back and tell my Lazarus and Abraham, go and tell my brothers and Charlie, they must do something because this is a serious matter.
Yeah.
How critical is it for anyone, no matter what they are earning, to have a written plan? And what must that plan have? So,
the most obvious is, what do you want the plan to achieve? So, and remember in the beginning when we started the conversation, I said anyone listening to us now might be on different age segments. So you could be 20, you could be 40, you could be 50, and you could be 60. And the question is that I don't have a financial plan. So the very first thing is, okay, so why do I need a financial plan? So depending on your age bracket, your goal, and then your financial plan, there could be a short term, there could be medium term, and then there could be a long term. So let's say I'm young, so my short term plan is I want to be able to acquire a vehicle. Let me put it that way. Now, your processes of acquiring that vehicle means that you need to be able to save something a little bit more today to make it. So once you do that, then the next question that you ask yourself is, okay, so I know I want to be able to earn this vehicle. Today, how much do I have? Do I have any loans? Did I, take a loan to purchase some TV, or somebody came to the office and said, oh, they are selling kettles, there's this new shoe, but you can pay every single month a little bit amount. So what's my net position today? When I take a look at everything that I have, and I take a look at how much it is that I have to pay out, what's my net position? Once you've done that, I said, okay, so now that I know my net position, this goal that I want to achieve, whether the short-term goal, the medium-term goal, and the long-term goal, what do I need to do? I need to change my spending pattern. So you now put together a certain budget to be able to try and meet it. And then in the budget, you also have to put in certain contingencies and there's one thing that I picked up in this particular regard. For people who are in the formal sector, and there are also people in the informal sector, but the formal sector workers, they get salary revisions every single year. What happens is that the top up in that revision could be used to go into part of planning for this your short-term or your medium-term goal. But immediately, what happens is that it goes into consumption. So someone started earning national service 600 Ghana cedis, 700 Ghana cedis. And that person owns an iPhone, which is 3,000 Ghana cedis. Ask me how they got it. Probably through some facility or whatever it is. But the person now starts earning, their first job, and they start earning 1,500, 2,000 Ghana cedis. And they said, oh, let me change my iPhone to something else. So instead of that top-up salary that came, which should go into part of the budget savings, and into some investment vehicle, they now take it into consumption. So the care about putting together a budget is that you must be consistent. Okay. Consistency is very, very important. So now you have your financial, you know what goal you want to get. You've drawn up your budget. You now start looking and say, okay, so what are my income levels? What do I need to be able to put in? And don't forget, because of the economy that we are in, today, when we started a few months ago, inflation was somewhere in the teens. It was even sometimes single digits. Okay. Today, it shot up to almost about 31% and counting. So as you're also trying to put money together, put money aside, you've also got to tell yourself, hey, I need to increase that amount I'm putting aside every single time, because I need to put some cushion in because of the value of the goal that I said I wanted to. Because sometimes you say, I need 10,000 Ghana cedis. But when you started this, when you're putting together the budget, you should also say that, hey, in the event this 10,000, by the time I get the 10,000, the value that I wanted, it will probably be 15,000. So you've got to be able to put in a plan which enables you to escalate your contributions as and when you go in. Then there's this thing about, somebody also says, part of the plan is to say, what if this happens? Would my plan be derailed? And the easiest way to mitigate it is for you to purchase certain solutions. And I'll give you an example. So here's a young couple, okay, they're married, they have kids, but here the couple, both of them have parents. So they decided that they'll put together this plan that I'm talking about. But then here's a case where they've decided that we'll save every single month because they have a goal of, let's say, building a home and buying a mortgage. So they're putting together their deposits one way or the other. Then 2 years down the line, the parents of one of them knocks off. Where are they going to get the money for the funeral? So in the plan, you've got to ask yourself, how do I protect myself in the event some of these things occur? You must be able to buy the right insurance and say, I need a life insurance. First of all, I have a family. I need a life insurance solution. I need a funeral insurance solution. Because if I'm a young couple and any of us pass on, a spouse, either the man passes on or the female or the wife passes on, obligations will fall on either partner. So there must be a life insurance solution that we should have. Secondly, if any of our parents go, Eja, they'll call us to be able to contribute. And if I happen to be the first child, that's even worse. I have a personal story, and this happened very early in my insurance career, where there was a client who was doing comprehensive insurance, and I used to be the officer that the person would come to. And after the third year, the person came and said, look, Joe, this thing is useless. I said, why? He said, every year I'm paying, nothing happens. I want a third-party insurance. I said, oh, but why would you? He says, no, I want a third-party insurance. So he comes in the morning at 10. He says, the policy was expiring today. He says, convert it, I want a third party, I'm tired, you put it. I said, okay, no problem. So he paid a reduced premium. The guy walked away laughing. Then around 7 p.m., he calls me.
Hey.
I said, what's the problem? I have an accident. I said, where? Adenta. He showed me housing down area, there was a car that crossed him and he's run into a home and stuff like that. I said, are you all right? He says, yes. I said, nobody got injured. He says, so nobody got injured. I said, okay, then that's fine. That's the most important thing I want to hear, that nobody got injured. Then as he had settled, I said, so the vehicle, says, Charlie, the wall is even on the car. He doesn't even want to look at it. I said, okay. I said, please go to the police station. I want the police to record the time of the accident. I said, you know why? Your policy expires at 12 midnight. You spoke to me at 7 p.m. Go and get a police report to confirm. Your comprehensive policy is still active till 12 midnight.
Are you serious? This is like Sini.
This is like Sini. I remember how passionate we had this conversation in the morning. And you could tell from his face that as far as he was concerned, this is a solution that didn't give him the value he thought he had. And that's because he must be told that it will happen before he comes. And that's not how insurance works.
You know what? When I come back from this break, we will take our time and start from the beginning and construct step by step. Because it's a serious matter, Big Joe. I have this book in my hands. It's called Snakes and Ladders, one of our books by Comfort and I. Yeah. And you know the funny thing about Snakes and Ladders? It talks about how you can climb, and then just when you got to like 72, one incident can bring you back to 7. Exactly. And there was some snake bee that I will never forget. It was at 99. It can bring you to like 2. In fact, when we come back from this break, whoever you are listening, we will start from the starting point, because it can get very confusing. And the funeral, and then personal, and then vehicle, and then motor, and then the housing. Let's take our time. Yeah. Where do you start from? Step 2, step 3. Hopefully, by the end of this program, at least you will be comfortable in a position where your future cannot be derailed by one incident. Please don't go away.
There once was a man who had it all. He had skill, he had charisma. He was loved by all, but above all, he knew the importance of helping others, lifting others up. He knew the importance of giving other people an advantage so that they too would use that advantage to help others. All you need is that advantage that sets you apart from the rest. And when you discover that advantage, life's challenges don't seem so daunting anymore. That's where we come in. Enterprise, your advantage.
Central University, we are not just giving theoretical knowledge, but also real-life practical immersion. Our projects and research are targeted at solving real-life problems within our built and a natural environment. My name is Joseph Bafo, an architecture student. The faculty and facilities available to us make us industry ready. The project I'm working on recently won an award when my colleagues and I visited the Netherlands. Central University makes you industry ready.
Welcome back to the Money edition of Springboard Virtual University with my good friend Big Joe Ampofo from the Enterprise Trustees, the Managing Director, helping us to unpack what is probably the most important conversation of your life about your financial future. This is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and proudly sponsored by the Enterprise Group, MTN Pulse, UMB Bank, Central University, with media support from the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Business. So far, Big Joe has been telling us that your financial future is the engine of all your plans for the future. That's the pivot of the plans. The second thing he's been saying is that the need is real because your very next plan, next item on your plans, whether it's a graduation or a course you want to take or a wedding you want to do, may require you to dig into those reserves. The third thing he's been saying is that people don't prepare early enough because we have a consumption culture, and especially when we are younger, our focus is more on showing off than preparing for the future. The fourth is even more scary. He says ignorance is the reason why many people destroy their financial future, and he's saying that many people who are in the formal sector are supposedly cushioned by the tier 1 solution that guarantees maximum 60% of your highest salary. But hey, can that take care of you? You need probably up to about 85% to ensure your lifestyle is guaranteed. Then he adds the part that is even more annoying, that there are new bills that come with old age that are not there with young age. Sharing functions, naming children, becoming godfather, and then health bills. And then the fifth one you shared, Big Joe, is the financial planning matrix. Determine what you need short-term, medium-term, long-term. Number 2, assess how much you have in your net position. 3, what do you need? And then 4, draw a budget and provision for contingencies that you didn't plan for. And that is where the thing got spoiled. That after all the plans you've made, if you don't provide for contingencies, the snake can bite you at 99. One funeral, one accident, can bring all your plans down to zero. Bijo, that was very scary. The story you told, again, the story I told, showed serious vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Anyone is listening tonight and saying, you know what, you help me, I need help. And that's what you are there for, Enterprise Trustees. The person who is listening to say, okay, step 1, step 2, it doesn't matter who they are, what should they do?
Okay, so let me begin by saying I'm talking to Kojo and Ama, who probably are working. Kojo owns a store, and then Ama also owns, or let's say, is an employee of a company. So Kojo, for instance, who owns a store, or maybe it's a tailor, or probably is also a mechanic, is asking, so this whole big English that we are talking about, how did they get part of it? So he, for instance, Kojo doesn't have a solution like the formal sector worker, for him to be able to dial into a Tier 1 or a Tier 2 solution. But simply put, all you can do is, Kojo, you can dial *714 *333# and start.
Slow down.
*714 *333#. This is a simple USSD solution that Kojo, who is a tailor, who is a mechanic, who is somebody who is running their own business. I can run my own consultancy that I'm doing, or I'm a lawyer, I'm running my own stuff, or whatever it is. I just set up my own account where I contribute consistently over a period of time, any amount that I choose to.
Pause. So you're saying that from the comfort of your home, listening to this program as we speak, you can take your YAM phone, you can take any phone you have, and dial *714 *333#, and it will allow you to open a personal pension account. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
And you determine how much you want to put in.
You determine how much you want to put in. Because the beauty about this solution is we are not compelling you to be able to say do 50 Ghana cedis or 100 Ghana cedis a month. Okay. Because you see, you need to be able to determine, like as we've gone through the objective that we put together, we rightly said you should be able to put together an amount that will be consistently done every single month. When we receive that, we then put that money to use in terms of investing it to give you a certain return over a certain period. So that's one. And that I talked about Kojo,
right,
who is doing his own thing. Now,
before you go on, so the person who dials and sets up a pension plan, when they want to contribute, when they want to pay their premium, must they come to your office?
You don't need to walk into our offices. No, sit in the same way as you sat at the edge of your bed or even in your shop on your phone. You also do we do Momo transaction, and it hits your account. You get a notification, okay, simply telling you how much is that you've contributed, and then you also are able to check on your statement.
I was going to come to that. Yeah. So from end to end, from your home,
you're there. You don't need to move. Our offices are located. Enterprise Trustees is around, but you don't need to walk because you are going to take you take an Uber, you take a taxi, you take a trotro. It's money you're spending. You don't need to come.
So put that money rather in the account.
Put that money rather in the account.
I must say, sounds nice.
Sit where you are.
So that's a first step.
Sit where you are. Now let's say you have more than a YAM. You have a more sophisticated phone that you have access to an Apple, the store, the Apple Store or the Google Store. Here's a case where we are simply saying download the Enterprise Advantage app. Once you go to your Play Store or the Google Store, you see it there, Enterprise Advantage app. Once you download, you put in your details, you register, and there you go to the Enterprise Trustees page, pensions, and you set up your personal pension account. That as well, you sit in the comfort of your home. You are not moving from anywhere. You are not going to say, send me your GPS location. You can do all that, but you don't need to.
I'll tell you what I love about this. And it's a very simple matter. The amount and time you would have spent traveling to the office and back, add that money to the amount you're investing.
Thank you very much.
And you get more money.
And you get more money in your account. And it's your own money.
And I like the part also about statement. I think
exactly.
I did a research that showed that one of the biggest inspirations for lifestyle change is when people get a statement. That shows you that the little you've put in so far, it has reached here.
It works both ways. There are some people too, when they see the statement, they say, "Oh, it's coming on." We've had situations where somebody says, "Oh, so this money, how can I get it?" I'm like, But you put this money there for retirement. Oh, okay. So it works both ways. But the beauty about it is you can be able to see the value of your asset grow.
Do you ring fence the money to prevent people from destroying themselves? Let me use those words advisedly. I know it's so much. I'm dying today. Why are you talking about tomorrow? I'm just being honest.
Well, yes, there are some withdrawal considerations, and we expect that once you're putting this money aside, it is for long term, and therefore you cannot have it like it's not like let me put it this way: the fund doesn't work like an ATM. Where I just walk there today and say, okay, give me 10 CDs out of my money today, give me 20 CDs out of the money today. When you do that, then it means that you kill the opportunity for you to grow the asset via compound interest. So yes, there are withdrawal rules, and I believe that it's there are few. It must be there for some months, and we'll set the minimum. The minimum period is there where you allow the money to be able to grow and invest for your own benefit.
Have you had a success story where somebody, when you mentioned ATM, I was laughing because it would seem that as long as people know they can cash their money, it will be a temptation, because the next thing that comes, anytime you know that you have some money somewhere, if you don't know, you don't know. But when you know you have money somewhere, there's always a thought that now Minko is confused. So I can imagine that people would always think of that one, and you always would try to also put impediments in their way to prevent them from spending, as it were, their pension money. But have you had somebody come back to you and say, thank you for preventing me, this is what I've been able to do?
So we started this business in 2012. I mean, yes, the government, the laws were changed, but then private sector pensions actually began in 2012. That's when we started receiving contributions. So for us, 10 years was when we now started to start paying benefits, and we are actually in our 10th year. So there are some people, yes, there are some people that have seen their statement, and the beauty about seeing your statement, and when they saw it, they realized that today their returns are almost about 50 to 60% of their total contributions that they've put in.
That means that if you have put in cumulatively, let's say 1,000 cedis, your money is now 1,005. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you're looking, yes, and quite clearly the point is that they ask themselves that if they had taken a little bit out of it, it would have reduced that effect.
Right.
You know, so quite clearly you notice that when people take a look at their total value, I'm being very conservative here. Quite clearly they realize that, wow, their total value, when you look at it, contributions make up just about between 40 to probably about 55%. The rest of it is the interest that has accrued on it. You know, so it tells you that if you consistently put money into a vehicle and you don't go back at it to be able to hit at it, it will grow and then give you the appreciated returns that you have. We currently are in a challenge where inflation is actually running away from us. But as investment managers, we're also doing our best to ensure that we keep the value of the pension assets that we hold in check. It is difficult, but it's something that we are also quite determined and trying to deploy some vehicles to be able to get us to do it. So from the perspective of Kojo, he's fine. He sits in the comfort of his office. He dials *714 *333 hash if he has a YAM phone. If he has a more sophisticated phone, he goes onto the app to download the app. Now let's talk about Akosia, who is an employee of a firm. And as an employee of a firm, the advantage that Akosia has is that the company is mandated to be able to do a retirement solution. So the company has a tier 1 and then has a tier 2. So this is where Akosia is contributing, or Akosia, for instance, is contributing 5% of their salary, and the employer is matching it with 13.5%. So they have a mandatory pot of 18.5%, and that is what funds the SNIT tier 1 and then funds the private sector tier 2. Now, what we are saying is, and this is what we've noticed, since 2020 when we started paying benefits, you won't believe it, about 98 or 99% of people we've paid who have accumulated their savings for the past 10 years, none of them took advantage. That 99%, or let's say under 1%, took advantage of the third tier, which is voluntary in nature, which would have helped you to accumulate your savings. And even that, they had a tax waiver of up to 16.5%. So you ask yourself, if 5% of my contributions can give me X, What if I was putting 10% of my contributions into a fund for the past 10 years? They would have walked away with a much healthier retirement fund than most of them have done in 2020 and going beyond. So for Akosia, for instance, the likes of Akosia, we are saying, does your company have a third tier? They can do it by having a provident fund. Even if they have a provident fund, ask yourself, how do I even start up my own personal pension? And the question is that your employer doesn't need to sign off on your personal pension. You, like I've said, how Kojo does, can sit in the comfort of your home and do *714*333#.
So what you're saying is that the tier 1 and 2 guarantee you a certain level of support, and that is deducted at source from your salary before it is given to you. You have never had the power to go to them and say, you know what, this month things are tough, so don't deduct my SNET. I mean, it is taken from you.
It's taken from you.
For that reason, you are guaranteed some protection.
So not just SNET. I mean, that's what I said. The mandatory nature is you have a portion of it which is SNET Tier 1, and then the Tier 2 is for private sector like ourselves to manage. Yes. But we manage the lump sum benefit. So we would pay you the 50,000 or the 30,000 or the 100,000 that we've invested.
Based on your salary.
Well, it's not based on your salary. Your contributions that we receive, we invest it. And then the returns that come, we add to the contributions and give back to you.
So when I said based on your salary, I actually meant based on how much you've contributed and how much that's earned.
Thank you.
Which will be influenced by
Exactly.
Okay.
Unlike Tier 1, where your benefit is actually based on your salary.
Okay.
Because like we said, for Tier 1, it's what we call the defined benefit.
I get
so, but for your Tier 2, it's your defined contribution. So it's actually what we call, like, I like the way you began this segment by saying money, money, money. It's actually your money purchased solution.
Right.
So that's what we take your 50 Ghana cedis, we invest in a series of investments, either treasury bills, we invest in equities, so a number of investment vehicles that have been designed.
Right.
And then at the end of the period, we then give you and say, oh, the 50 Ghana cedis you've been giving to us, 60 Ghana cedis increment, now today is 10,000 Ghana cedis. Right. So for us, when you get to retirement, we say here is 10,000 Ghana cedis, which is a total of the investment value out of the 50 Ghana cedis. So that's one side. Before, when you go to SNET, Tier 1, they would then be giving you the monthly amount, which is, like I said, if you had 1,000 Ghana cedis, then it would have been 600 Ghana cedis.
Thereabouts.
That's what you'd be earning.
Great. So you are saying that after 10 years of doing this, 99% of posts top at what they will get monthly from SNET and the lump sum that you will give them, which is defined. Now, what you are saying is that beyond these two, they should go to something that they have more control over, where you can determine that even if this is enough for me, I want to have a better future than is defined for me by the law, by taking advantage of the same law to put in place a non-compulsory amount every month.
Exactly.
And you are saying that you provide the convenience to determine which amount it is.
Exactly. And we are saying that, I mean, the point is that we don't want you to hustle and say, okay, I missed this month. You know, is there a penalty? We are trying to encourage you to do it on your own. And by so doing, you'd realize that the benefits to you is that I own this space and I can control it. I can even increase the amount.
Can you contribute twice a month?
You can contribute every day.
Oh, okay.
It's more, I'm still there. And I do this personally. I mean, what I try and do is somebody can say, Charlie, oh, Joe, Charlie, today is hard. Oh, I have a few friends. Oh, Charlie, can you send me some Momo to do? Okay, so if I send you 60 Ghana cedi Momo, I'll send myself 60 Ghana cedis into my fund. Because what I was telling myself is,
if I can dash you 60,
then I should be able to do something about my fund and increase it in that manner.
Big question. Majority of our listeners are young people starting out in their careers, excited about what they are doing. Why should they be concerned about a discussion about retirement pensions and so on? When should they start taking that seriously?
Now.
Why?
Because you have the opportunity of time. And the beauty about, or the magic about investment is the more time you have, the better returns of your investment over that period. So what happens is that you realize that when people are 50, 55, and they're almost 60, and they start these. It's good to start. It's better late than never. Let me put it that way. But then the point is that I would have to put in. So if we both wanted, let's say, 1 million Ghana cedis, I probably might have to put in 5,000 Ghana cedis a month because I'm 55. Let me put it that way. But if I'm 30, I probably have to put in 100 Ghana cedis. You understand?
That calculation, when you see it in real time, it can make you depressed.
So that's what I mean. I sit here and I said, wow, when I started work, way back 98, 99, I'm asking myself,
why didn't you tell me?
My first salary that I got, I mean, imagine if I've been putting X amount, aside myself. Today, I mean, I probably would have been very excited, far more excited than I am today. And that is the beauty of time. So to all my young colleagues in the office and everywhere, I keep saying that once you're 20, 30, not 40, this is the time to do it, because we believe that the more time you have, the better opportunity you have in terms of the value that you get at the end of the day.
Let me see if I can summarize what you've been saying. I've taken it very seriously, and let's see if I can try and capture this in a small summary for the benefit of somebody listening very intently and saying this is a serious matter. In fact, it's a very, very serious matter. So you're saying that if somebody is in the formal sector, some provision has been made for you, but statistically, it is good but not enough
at all.
So take more control and then do a discretionary add-on that will improve the quality of your life. And if I were to go to numbers, you are saying that most likely that provision that has been made will cater for 60% of your income thereabouts, and take control, because you can push your investment or your preparation towards something that will guarantee you about 85% thereabouts, which is a better figure than the 60%. Is that what you're saying?
So statistically or theoretically, that is it. Except
right.
that in Ghana, don't forget that we're also fighting
inflation.
The inflation.
Okay.
So we need to do more.
Right.
Yes.
So that is like the basic that you should do.
Yes.
So you are saying that to make that happen, don't even come. They say, I'm not ready that you come to me. You sit where you are.
Exactly.
And dial the *714*333#. Once you do, even with a yam, you can start something.
Immediately.
When?
Now.
I think I get it.
So somebody has 50 Ghana cedis in their Momo. You can start with 10 Ghana cedis.
Okay. Question 2. You're saying that if you're in the informal sector, yours is even worse because your company has not made any provision for you. So you yourself take control and start where you are, and the same number is the number to dial.
Same number.
Option 2, find the Enterprise Advantage app and download and do the same thing. Sit in your house, open the account, and then start the investment.
Good.
Before we sign off, there are 2 things I would like to explore. Along the line, you mentioned that just to avoid slipping back, that was when the sneaker ladder came in, before the break, just to avoid slipping from the progress you've made back to square one, provide for some contingencies. And you mentioned life insurance and funeral. Take a minute to help us understand how that fits into this matrix that we've described.
So, like I gave the example of Kojo and Akos, who have started this solution. And don't forget that as individuals, we are faced with certain risk. Question is that this fund that you are building, you can only get access to it at certain times. But then I might have some emergency. So the question is that those emergencies come in the form of unforeseen events. So there could be a death in the family immediate, which is either Kojo himself could pass on, and then his family gets into trouble, or his spouse could have it, or their parents. And I think even for family members, the question is that if your in-law passes on, one way or the other, it also falls on your leg.
It's on the leg.
It's on your leg. You can take insurance to cover these things. And I always tell people who have siblings that one of the beauty about siblings is take a policy together.
Oh, okay.
So we are siblings. So you take the policy, Kojo takes the policy, Amma takes the policy. All of them have named the father as the one. We all, when the funeral happens, we all go for the meeting smiling because we know that we have a cushion. Sometimes when you have the fighting at the family meetings,
it's because
the funeral. But if you have this cushion, you'll be surprised. The funeral planning goes very smoothly. Why? Because each of you have a policy. that you know that you are cashing in to be able to bear your parent.
You know, you've really made this very simple for understanding. And if you just joined us, this is a discussion about securing your financial future. It is anchored in the fact that the very first time we had a pension and a retirement planning conversation on radio, somebody called in literally in tears and said, when you don't hear things like this, when you retire, it is hell. And I know the person is listening today. I won't mention the name, but he calls me very often. And that was a wake-up call for us here at Springboard. So we've made a point every year to bring you back a conversation about financial planning, preparing for the future. Big Joe has been gracious enough to give us very simple to understand step-by-step guidelines, as well as, for me, the part I like, a number you can sit at home and dial and say, even if I'm feeling lazy, Charlie, I can start from here and build on from there. My final question to close. Big Joe, for somebody who says, hey, we are here, so nobody told me this 10 years ago, can they put in a lump sum and then from there add their 10, 20, 30, 40, a month, a week, a year, whatever?
It's very possible. The most important thing that I always tell people is start now.
Start now.
You know, and let the journey and let the journey begin. I mean, we are actually in our 10th year of building the retirement pot for people, and in the 10th year, there's opportunity for people to take out some part of the fund to be able to do whatever you want to do, but without tax, because the government said, if you contribute into this fund from a tax that's for the formal sector workers, I'll give you a tax waiver of the percentage you are doing, but up to a cap of 16.5%. After 10 years, you can cash out. And if you cash out, I don't charge you any tax. But the question that we have to ask ourselves is, this fund is for retirement. So if after I look at myself as a 10-year cycle and I'm 30, and today I'm 40, because when you started 2012, I was 30. Today, I am 42, you know, and now it is 10 years. Government says, oh, you can cash out. But the cash out was simply to enable you to start that lump sum that you're talking about to help you to springboard to your retirement.
That is a revelation. The word is springboard.
Now, if you touch that springboard, what you effectively do is that you reduce the potential that you have for your actual retirement, which, like I said, you are 42 today. The next 10 years, you'll be 52, and in the next 8 years, you'll be 60, which means that you'd have shut yourself down in that. So but I know the times that we are in is challenging. Everybody's looking for some disposable income here and there. We only encourage that make the right choices in terms of what you're using your fund for. If it's for retirement, please keep it as such. There are other solutions that can help you. Take a short-term loan, you know, where you can be able to pay off, such that you don't touch your pot, but allow it to be able to grow. And we've come up with solutions. We came up with the first pension-backed mortgage solution, where we are saying that use your retirement asset to get a loan to enable you to move into a home. And through that, we have EcoBank and Stanbic, who are partners in our pension-backed mortgage solution, to be able to provide you with that solution. So it is important that we try and take a look at it. But I just want to encourage everyone that retirement doesn't end because I have started the process. You know, I've started contributing, because things come your way. So always take a look at all those contingencies that can actually hurt your fund. Because someone kind of says, can I make a withdrawal because I want a funeral? But then if you're taking a life policy, you will not have it. Or I've lost, like I told you the story about our colleague who lost their property. You know, I've got to start all over again. Take a home insurance and you're covered. The motor insurance is largely because it's regulated, so most people would want to take it.
I'm taking my phone right now and I'm dialing *714 *333 hash, and I hope it goes through, because right now I'm putting money on it by Momo.
But your phone, your phone is not Yamo. So those of you using his type of phone, I would encourage you to download the Enterprise app.
I haven't done this for more than a decade. Just sign off in a minute by telling me what has given you the biggest fulfillment, either a client testimony or somebody who called you, or something that you witnessed that has given you the biggest fulfillment. Just to close.
So remember I told you that 0 point something percent that actually doing personal pension. I remember when we even started that, there was one individual who actually came and said, "Here, take this money. I want to start a personal pension with," And quite clearly, we're like, okay, this is very interesting. But today, we had one of these sessions and cocktail, and a person came around, and when we had, you could see the glee in the person's eyes regarding the decision they are taking and how things were working out for the person regarding, I believe that I'm going on to a more comfortable retirement than I would have without it. And that for me is something that I always look forward to, because I believe that our work it's actually trying to help people to prepare adequately for the next phase or the most important part of it, which is retirement. And people have, the other side is, don't forget, you also have medical bills. Okay? And these medical bills come in the form of many things. And your company medical bill ends when you leave the company. So question is, how are you going to fund all these things if you don't build up all these reserves in terms of the retirement fund? So if 10-year cycle comes and says, let me withdraw, think about the fact that, so what if something happens and I'm retired? Is it your children? The children these days are not like before. Today you call your child and it's like, why, what should I come and do? It's like, why can't you see I'm ill? So what should I do? The children are different. Your children cannot be your retirement pot. And I think we should change that mindset. Somebody says, but I'm investing in my children so that they'll take care of me in your old age. No. Because they'll take care of their children and their families, and that's what is happening. So the old solution of our retirement in our folklore is changing. It's no longer that situation where you'd have your daughters come to live with you and stuff like that. It doesn't happen. So you don't leave their husband.
I'll tell you why this is very, very important. The good news is that life expectancy has gone up.
Yeah.
So you won't even die as early as, on average, as we used to before. So you are living longer, and that means you will need many more years, and therefore much more money to look after you after you retire. Big Joe, you know what? Any time we have this conversation and finish, I tell myself, let's do this again. Do you agree?
Definitely so, because there's always more to talk about.
I know that.
There's always more to talk about.
I know that, and I am happy that you made time for this conversation. Thank you for coming, and thank our friends at Enterprise Trustees, and by extension, the whole of the Enterprise Group, for supporting this platform to make the lives of our people who listen and watch us better every week, providing a springboard for them. We want to encourage you to not just listen, but act on it and share your testimonies with us. Let's have this debate on the social media platforms you are broadcasting on. Share your personal experience, ask questions, but most importantly, the two words Big Joe has emphasized throughout: act now. And now means now. Start now.
Star 714 star 333 hash.
That's it. If not, then Enterprise Advantage have you do. All right. I want to say a big thank you to you for joining us in this conversation. And next week, let's do this again. On behalf of the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and our partners, the Enterprise Group, MTN Pulse, UMB Bank, Central University, and our media partners, the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Business. And by the way, on Tuesday, this story will be in the Graphic Business on page 18, as well as on springboard.com.gh, Graphic Online, and My Joy Online. My name is Albert Okran, saying God bless you, and God bless you.